Hello and welcome to Politics Today Special. This is Farooq Patafi. Today's program, viewers, is with reference to the 73rd Independence Day of Pakistan. We all are celebrating Independence Day of this great country. And today, it is important while we look back at what we have achieved, also to look forward and work on the aspirations of the nation. Today, we are going to do exactly that. We will try to understand some basic aspects of Pakistan as it stands today. What is Pakistani dreams, so to speak? What are Pakistani ambitions in the coming days? And if Pakistan had a checkered history, what went wrong, where it went wrong? We will try to do justice to all these matters and more if we have time. In order to help us understand these issues, we are joined by a very accomplished, very enlightened panel. We are joined by Professor Dr. Mohammad Riaz Ahmed Saab, who is a historian, one of the leading scholars on history of Pakistan, especially the foundational years, and he is also an author. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Next to him is Dr. Fawzia Farooq Sahiba, again a historian. But she is from the younger generation, and we are going to take her point of view as well. Thank you very much, ma'am, for being part of the program. Next to her is even younger gentleman, Janzeb Khan Saab, who's president of Jawan Pakistan, a movement in support of youth empowerment in this country. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program as well. Dr. Riaz, I have to start with you and I have to ask you. We can look back into history and try to divine what was the raison d'etre of this country, right? But let us talk about future as well. If I were to ask you, where do you want to see Pakistan 10 years down the road, especially based on the foundational philosophy of the country? Kindly do enlighten us.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. First of all, I want to thank you and the PTV that you have invited me for this very important discussion with reference to our Independence Day.
Sir.
As far as your question is concerned, the future of Pakistan, I see very bright future. Keeping in view the nature and composition of the Pakistani nation. If we come across some of the political leaders, maybe we get disappointed, but with the passage of time, the hopeful signs are coming.
Right.
And the way things are advancing, our politicians are advancing, our leadership is advancing, and they are giving the new ideals in the garb of the world politics, we see, and because we have to go hand in hand and shoulder to shoulder with the world nations.
Right.
We can't separate ourselves. Although Pakistan was created on the basis of two-nation theory in 1947,
Right.
but after 47, all non-Muslims are also part of our nation. So this is now it has become a Pakistani nation. After 47, we live as Pakistani nation.
Right.
This is our important point, which should be emphasized. And all, as Qaid-e-Azam said, that all Muslims and non-Muslims are equal citizens of Pakistan. So this is the basis of our...
Right. A pluralistic democracy with prosperity and tolerance. Is it what you're saying?
Yes.
10 years down the lane.
And along with, because every democracy, our political system is based on the society.
Right.
You should keep your own society in your viewpoint.
Okay.
Your society is diverse, and there is a unity in this diversity.
Right, absolutely. Dr. Fawzia, your take on how do you see or how would you like to see Pakistan 10 years down the lane?
Thank you so much for inviting me to the show. And I feel that I see a more educated and more tolerant Pakistan 10 years down the road, because I feel that our literacy rate is now probably improving, and with literacy rate we are having this realization about nationalism, about what our goals about development should be. So I see a very educated young nation which will think about issues. Yes, politics is one, but environment is another.
Right.
Then I see that we will be a part of a global fraternity where we will be respected
Yeah,
and we will
that,
be.
that is very important. But since you actually mentioned environment and climate change, that is also very important because
Yes.
Pakistan is the 8th in the most vulnerable countries in the
Exactly.
world. And unfortunately, the 7 who actually are ahead of us are hardly that big nations. So Pakistan is number 1
Yes.
in vulnerability.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because of probably the water deprivation issue.
Yeah.
Now, we are, there is a ticking time bomb
Okay.
that probably we are encountering at the moment. Uh, we do have to find solutions for probably water cleaning, water management and things. So I think our number one problem in environmental issue is probably water management. I hope we are able to tackle that problem.
Yeah.
So with education, I think I do see a Pakistan that solves its problem of climate change and it solves its water problem.
Right.
Yeah.
Let us hope that happens. Let me bring in Jazeb Khan Sahab as well. Jazeb, you are a young person. I mean, you shouldn't have any problem looking 10 years down the lane, right? Do tell me, how do you see Pakistan, or how would you like to see Pakistan? I'm really glad that literacy was emphasized here because perhaps Pakistan is not investing that much in education. What else?
So I believe that 10 years is a long period. I believe that Pakistan has a very bright and very optimistic future in coming 5 years from now. Why I'm saying that and why I'm confident on this particular point that in 2015 September, United Nations Development Program came up with a project report, and that was on the Human Development Project on Youth Affairs. With that report, we came to know as a nation that Pakistan has a 65% of youth, the entire population of Pakistan, and then it's 65% of the youth, which means that a lion's share of Pakistan's population is youth right now.
Yeah, but you're quoting a report which was published when?
In 2015.
Okay. So here's, I don't want to actually rain on your parade, but
All right.
here's the problem. A Pakistani census had not been conducted, so the number you saw was extrapolation. Now, luckily, census is also qualifying that, but Pakistan has this remarkable oblivious attitude towards numbers as well. So at that time when it was said, it was extrapolation.
But let's drag it to 60%.
Okay.
Even then,
Whatever you say.
Even then, we are having a larger portion of the population that comprises of youth. And when we talk about youth, we talk about the energetic Pakistan.
Okay.
We talk about a more dynamic Pakistan. We talk about a more educated Pakistan. Because our
And we
youth,
don't talk about Twitter trolls or social media trolls.
that comes in the package. But what I believe that Pakistan has a very big dynamics of youth engagement in politics, in democracies, leadership, education, entrepreneurship, leadership, and whatnot. We can bring this majority of Pakistan's largest number of people, that the young people of Pakistan, to a surface where new leadership can come up with
And
new
I'm
ideas.
glad that you actually are emphasizing how important the youth is.
Exactly.
The question then that comes to my mind, sir, is how in touch is the youth of Pakistan with its own history and with its own cultural legacy also. Do you think that we have done a good job of educating our youth?
I think to some extent you can question that we have not done, but given the situation, without pointing out the errors on certain governments, despite that, our youth has advanced very much. Their vision is very broad. They are committed, Pakistanis, and they want to do something. But the problem is how to manage that, how to put them, organize them. This is job of the institutions and the government.
Okay.
And the government is not patronizing the youth in the proper way.
Okay.
And that is in the various fields. Just for example, we are producing engineers and doctors,
So,
but we are not putting them into the jobs.
okay.
For that, government cannot give job too much. Government has to create an environment.
Okay.
Just as for engineers, industrial environment, make a law that such an industry should engage such and such engineers.
Okay.
And every industry should have their own research center.
Right.
This-
R&D.
This is one of the, and the jobs can be created in thousands.
Right.
Similarly, in the medical side, if the government can cater for the hospitals and clinics
Right.
in the far-flung areas by developing the communications and other facilities, they can be accommodated. So this is the problem. Otherwise, youth is very much competitive.
Right. Youth is competent, sir, and I'm glad that you're talking about youth policy as well. But here's another question. People keep on talking about Pakistan's identity crisis that might have actually helped people get radicalized. And that would be because a lot of people have not been able to be in touch with history. How important it is for a young person to know what were Quaid-e-Azam's 14 points, for that matter, or what was Lahore resolution, what was exactly or Khutbah Allahabad. Do you think that it is also important and youth is not learning that?
No, I think youth very much understands. Some are problems. You are right to some extent. You are right, but the problem is that in crisis, identity crisis, you have mentioned. And for me, when you go abroad, you are known as Pakistani. There is no identity crisis.
Okay.
But when you come to academics and the universities, you can provide rationale for the creation of Pakistan and for the integrity of various regions. So to this point, there is some problem. People don't. You have rightly pointed out. Just for example, I will give you a reference of dialogue between Lord Mountbatten and Jinnah on 5 April 1947. And on that, he put many questions. I will only mention two.
Right.
Lord Mountbatten asked Jinnah, Mr. Jinnah, why you are asking the division of India, which is the Hindu Congress, or Congress terms as vivisection of mother cow.
Right.
Quaid-e-Azam said, my lord, Quaid-e-Azam's style was also question and counter question.
Okay.
That was his intelligence.
Like a smart lawyer, right?
Smart liar or intelligent person
Yeah,
or
intelligent.
far-sighted man. According to Lord Morley, he is such a far-sighted, skillful or cunning person that he puts to such questions that he will bring you to a point and he will make you to utter what he wants.
Right. Right.
He is such a skillful person. In 1917, 18.
In other words, he'll get what he wants, right? Out of your mouth.
So he answered, my lord, when 1932 Burma was separated, was not that vivisection of mother cow?
Right.
Mountbatten couldn't answer.
Yeah.
And the other question, other question. Let me this.
I wonder if he asked him, "Have you stopped eating beef then?"
As he asked, suppose Pakistan and Hindustan is created, although the Muslims and Hindus, but still they have a lot of cultural similarities.
Right.
Can you name any two countries in the world where the two countries have a lot of cultural similarities? My lord, I can name many countries. What do you think of Canada and USA?
Right.
He could not answer.
And that's a very smart argument. Let me go to Dr. Fawzia. Dr. Fawzia, your expertise, if I am informed correctly, is on medieval India, right? there is a habit in Pakistan. Of course, history of Pakistan starts from 1947. But there is this habit that we have to look to medieval ages, right? And for an identity for Pakistanis, especially Muhammad bin Qasim's coming to South Asia. There is another school of thought in Pakistan as well, who says whosoever lived in Pakistan back in 1 millennium ago is a Pakistani or should be treated as a Pakistani leader. Which argument would you prefer? Because it is quite interesting. You know, Muhammad bin Qasim versus Raja Dahir. I mean, this is a debate that goes on in this country.
Well, since I work on medieval history, so I have seen contemporary historians building both the arguments. First is that the first person, when the first person was converted to Islam, Pakistan came into being at that very moment. And the second one is that even Hindus living in the areas which are part of contemporary Pakistan should be considered Pakistanis. So I feel as a medievalist that Pakistan came into being in 1947,
Yeah.
and let's not drag the story too far.
Yeah.
But there is a fact that these regions that now comprise Pakistan, these were administratively very different from the mainstream India. So we should not think that the Sultan, since I work on Delhi Sultanate
were-
and Mughals, so the
They
Delhi
were never a permanent part of India, right?
Yes. So
They were
these-
like a buffer
Exactly.
between various regions.
Exactly. These were buffers, these were peripheries, which were either a part of the Mughals or Sultanate rule, or they were independent, or they were a part of Central Asian, whichever state was there, or Iran. So it has a very complicated history.
Right.
But most of the time, these places were kind of independent, and they were passage. They were routes for invaders, and this is how certain economies, certain social groups have developed here.
Yeah, but on one side, I'm glad that you have brought up the matter that Pakistan's history starts in 47. But the fact is that the people who were living here were not born on 1947.
Yes.
And the second aspect, which is very important, is that if Pakistan is limited by chronology, it is also limited by geography. We have finite borders, and
Yes.
within those borders, people live. So should I be cherishing the history that was there in these regions before 1947? Or should I be cherishing, because it has a ramification for two-nation theory, how we actually interpret it today?
Sir, I feel that it's good to probably read history to learn from
Celebrate
it. I'm sure we have many things in past that should be celebrated, and many things in present that should be celebrated. But I think history, the purpose of history is to learn and to have to develop an ability to think critically.
Okay.
So I think the purpose of history is critical thinking,
Okay.
to learn whatever happened in the past, how it affects us now. So the thing is that since I work on medieval Indian history and parts of Pakistan as well, so I learn from everything, and I feel that this is what people should do. If somebody is learning,
So there's a European, Indian
Yes.
approach to education, and then there's American approach. They learn from history, but they are so wedded to the moment, that moment in history, that they don't care about that past. So should we be doing that? Yes or no? Very quickly. You say
sir,
it and
I
then-
think we should care about past.
Yeah.
And we should see that all history is contemporary history. So whatever issues we have right now, we tend to see past in the prism of that.
Right,
So-
right. That is important. Jazeb Khan, how informed are you or your generation is about history?
Well, I think that history has been manipulated at many times.
Why would you say that?
because we had a very different curriculum of studies.
Yeah, might I very humbly suggest that every nation has more than one interpretation of history.
Exactly.
You call it divergence of opinion, not manipulation of history.
Let's call it diversion.
Thank you.
But again, if we talk about the diversion, yes, there is
Divergence.
there is a bit of confusion among certain elements of youth that does not have a relationship with the history. But again, when I speak about the youth at large, I think that patriotism, that one nation theory, that comes inbuilt when you are a Pakistani born youth, and when you work for Pakistan, and when you think like Pakistani, you need to understand your present. You need to look for your future, and that is what our youth is doing.
Yeah.
And that makes our youth very, very different from the other nations.
Okay.
As I think that our youth has a long way to go, and we have learned a lot of things from history. Yes, history is there to
And I'm,
as a teacher.
I'm happy that you're saying that. Just tell me, do you read books? People in this youth category, do they read books?
Well, unfortunately, book reading is not that popular these days.
And do they write books as well?
They write articles. We have bloggers, youth. We have a lot of blogger youths. We have a lot of vloggers as well. But if you ask about a particular writing pattern that
no, I'm
has
not
been
going to
followed.
actually. I'm not here to take a viva, right? Conduct a
Exactly.
viva verse. What I'm asking is, I want to make a point here. You must have seen books written on two-nation theory, on Pakistan's formation. Have you seen any book called Pakistani Dream, talking about the future? Any book?
Well, there's I don't remember any book particularly to describing about the future of Pakistan. But yes, then
the
there are
Pakistani Dream.
Pakistani
What
Dream.
defines Pakistan's aspirations? Why are we not investing time in that?
Yes,
A
we,
good question. A good question. Sure.
it's really a very good question. But yes, time teaches us a lot, and the youth is vibrant enough to learn a lot from the history, from the present, and to make their future secure. And this is how the youth of any nation grows, by learning from their past and practicing their future.
Okay.
And this is how Pakistan youth is working right now. And I'm confident that sooner or later our youth will be confident enough to advocate Pakistan at any level.
Dr. Riaz, the question, and I'm at that time and noticed when I was asking this question, you agreed with the question. My humble submission is that when we are talking about future, there is a lot of dreaming that has to be involved, right? You have to chart out a map of the future and then move towards it. Otherwise, paradigm is lost. Why is it that we are not investing that much in defining that dream?
Actually, our problem, we are historians.
So-
We deal with the past.
Yeah, but future is part of
part
of
of
history.
futurist. But in the past, this is our limitation, because as far as your question, you were discussing the nation own and cultural Pakistani national cultural roots and independence. I wanted to say something more on this issue. Allama Iqbal, go to Allama Iqbal.
Sir.
He is that Allahabad Address, 1930. He actually, this Pakistan is the same which Allama Iqbal visualized in 1930.
So, right.
Later on, East Pakistan, the Bengal and Assam was included into that. But keeping in view Iqbal's observations, thought with reference to this region, they are very important.
Okay.
And he sees that this area, the people who are living in this land, they are a separate nation.
All right.
And keeping you, and with reference to Islam, when it comes to Islam, he goes on discussing different countries, how Islam has worked in various countries,
Right.
and how it has worked in India. He says that the experience of Islam for thousands of years, yeah, hundreds of years,
Right.
has been unique in history.
Right.
What does it mean? This, for me, this is more on the cultural sense. Although some ulama may not agree with his viewpoint.
Right.
Just for example,
Yeah, I get that point, but I want to highlight here one aspect. You're talking about a great thinker, philosopher, poet, right?
no, I'm talking about the region.
No, of course, but his vision also, his definition. Here was a great man who had incredible influence on Pakistan, even though he was born in 19th century, passed away at the start of 20th, and actually passed away before Pakistan was created.
Yes.
That was the height of vision, wisdom, right? Where are Iqbals of today? Why have we stopped dreaming? I mean, he was talking about something ahead of his time. Why are we not talking about that?
Yes, you are right. In that way, you are right. That he dreamt of Pakistan, Muslim state. So I want to talk, though don't understand the culture,
Sure.
Pakistani culture and the nation, its composition. Its composition, if politically speaking, although Islam came much before Muhammad bin Qasim, but politically speaking, 712. And with the passage of time, we say here Sufia ka Islam and the ulama mix up. And this means the adoption of certain cultural symbols which were already prevailing in this land.
Okay, right, right.
Just simple symbols according to Dr. Dani. There are still certain symbols which are continuing from the Indus Valley civilization pattern.
Okay.
They are part of us.
Dr. Dani actually did a lot of work on Gandhara as well.
Yes.
Was one of my
And-
teachers.
And that's why,
Yeah.
if you come to Gandhara,
Yeah.
a revival of Buddhism, that is actually revival of Buddhism.
Right.
That is separate to Assam and other thing. But Gandhara is in Pakistan.
Right. So we can celebrate what was before 1947 as well. And that might actually help, Dr. Sahiba, that might help us in actually working on a past and a future, which is not largely a construct, but what we have got. We don't have to put a lot of effort in that. But again, coming back to the thinking minds in the country, why do we not have that kind of intellectual depth anymore in the country? What is wrong with our imagination?
That's a very good question. I wish I had an answer, but you have rightly pointed out towards probably something which I can call freedom of thought. So we do have a certain level of freedom of expression here, and we do have debates whether we have it or not, but we need to have a freedom to dream, freedom to think, and probably freedom to
You need freedom. Somebody has to give you freedom
no.
to dream.
No, I was
You
reading.
take it.
I was reading Khalil Gibran, a prophet, today, and this freedom comes from inside.
Yeah.
Nobody gives us that freedom. So we need to have a freedom within ourselves to learn to solve our problems. So probably what Iqbal and other people, other great people that we are talking about, these people dreamt and tried to solve problems. So they had an understanding of what problems were, what were the problems that they were facing at that time, and they could see what can be possible solutions. So what we probably are calling dreams at the moment are their strategies that they devised or they put forward to solve those problems.
Yeah.
So we need to
but here's the difference, and I just have to qualify. I mean, I want to be rich. That's a dream, right? How do I go about it is called strategy, right?
yes.
Are we even dreaming what exactly should be done in the future? What kind of Pakistan we want? Because when I talk to different people, I get a different answer. And there is nothing wrong in that, but something has to unite a nation, right?
Yes.
Dreams can be a great thing in that context. So,
Yes. dreams can be a great thing, and we are talking about a population which is probably a 7th largest population of the world. So while some of us are dreaming and thinking about problems and how to solve those problems, some of us are not. But as Toynbee says, there is always a creative minority. So a creative minority has to dream
Okay.
and has to win.
And I'm not actually complaining about majority. I'm saying, why is that creative minority missing in action? That is my question. Because I don't see the kind of, earlier, before we started program, there was mention of Ziaul Haq's legacy and all. In his time, there were dramas being written, great novels, right? Poetry being written. We don't see even an iota of that now.
Sir, probably the answer to this question is within your question. Creativity was a thing, because what Toynbee calls the recipe that Toynbee provides is that the creative minority has to be creative. When it starts mimesis or following or duplication, it just fails. So we need to be more creative.
I'm very happy with this panel and the answers I'm getting. Jazeb Khan, there is a reason. You earlier said that our youth is very vibrant, very capable, and then you mentioned our startups, businesses as well, entrepreneurs and all. I was looking at World Creativity Index, right? It is quite a potent index. I think there are 150 countries in that, and Pakistan is somewhere near 120 in that, near the bottom. And then World Innovation, Index also, again, to roughly 180 or 170 countries. Pakistan is somewhere between 150 and 155. So something is lacking there. How many startups are there? How many patents are we getting every year? What is wrong with the imagination?
Sir, what I believe that we are exaggerating the whole scenario right now.
No, I'm not. I'm
no,
quoting,
no, I'm not talking about you.
I'm quoting, I'm quoting Western assessment.
I'm talking about a general phenomena. When we talk about politics, we used to exaggerate a lot. When we talk about the youth, we used to exaggerate a lot. I have seen a lot of youth in the West countries. You ask them a question about their history, they do not know anything about it. You ask a youth in a West about anything currently happening in their economy, they do not know anything about that.
That is a very smart pivot away from what I was
No,
asking. I mean, I must compliment you, but you have to come back to the issue that I'm pointing out.
But when you talk to a youth in Pakistan, he may be knowing a lot about the economic problems, he may be knowing about a lot about the political problems. Our youth is still vibrant, sir.
Jazeb, with due respect,
beg me to
they
speak,
say that taste of a pudding in its eating, right? And I'm talking about very concrete proof. One, if you are innovative, you have to have if you don't have multinational, you have to have multi-billion companies in the country. Do you see any? How many patents are being registered in the country, and how many commercial patents are there? Unfortunately, it is next to nothing. We are sitting next to two giant countries, India and China, and they have humongous number of patents. We have to work on that as well. I mean, I can go on finding excuses for various things, but one day I have to look in the mirror and see if I am doing something wrong. Somebody has to actually, how many VCs are there, right? Venture capitalism in this country is next to nil, but creativity has to be there. There is some problem. So why not why shy away from it? Why say that we are exaggerating while we can find a solution to that?
Sir, we can find a solution for that, but what was the reason behind that? As I told you earlier, sir,
Are we going to blame somebody else again?
No, see, there is somebody to be blamed. There is something
Why
to
not
be blamed.
me? Why not you?
Exactly. See, the curriculum we have been following from last 40 years, we have been structured in a well. We cannot think out of the box because our curriculum has a lot of lackages in it.
You are in your mid-30s. You must have graduated from school ages ago, right?
Exactly.
How many times have you opened Mutaliya Pakistan or Pakistan Studies after leaving school? The books that you read there? None, right? You can blame anything, but one has to actually complain about the initiative and imagination as well sometime. You have to take responsibility. I mean, you have a problem with the region. Cultural appropriation that India subjects Pakistan to is amazing. Whatever is good is theirs. Whatever bad is there is ours. Bindi was called Pakistani dot in the West. Why? Paki dot. I mean, I don't understand. Nobody wears a bindi in Pakistan because it was not culturally acceptable in the West or UK. They would actually put it on Pakistan as well. So you have to be innovative. You have to be imaginative. Don't we?
So we are innovative. We have a lot of youth working in the West countries, bringing a good name to the Pakistan. A few moments back, we had a headline here, and we saw that one of our Pakistani youth qualified for the gaming zone in the West.
Yeah.
That is one of the
Living
examples.
there or living here?
Living there, but he is a Pakistani.
You-
He is basically a Pakistani youth. Let me come on that, sir.
I'm
We
glad
have a
and
lot
I
of
have to take this question to Riyasa.
we have a lot of entrepreneurs. Those are young minds working for the bright future of Pakistan. We have a lot of
Nobody
creative
is
artists.
taking that away from
But
them.
let's give it a time. We need time.
How much time? 100 years?
I think that let the democracy prevail for next few years uninterruptedly, and then we can
is prevailing.
we can
It is
find
prevailing for last 11 years.
11 years is nothing for a baby country. We had to take it to at least
This country, this
50
country
years.
is 73 now. Today it is 73 years old, and I am sure that by the time I'm 73, I will but rather be dead. I would perhaps be dead, right? It is quite an age. I mean, you have to look into the reality as well. But sir, he pointed out something very interesting without even knowing it. He says that a certain gentleman in the West actually qualified for this thing or that thing. Does it also speak to the fact that there is immense brain drain happening in the country? That the brightest minds might be leaving the country for greener pasture?
Yes, they are leaving.
And
because,
why?
Because of the ill policies, you can say, the no policy on behalf of the state. I can put the word state safely
Yeah, yeah.
without
Yeah, you
blaming
can.
any government. You understand? Because this is the job of the state to cater for the best talented youth in their own country. But that is why it is causing the outflow of these doctors, engineers, and other things. And even at the A level, O level, how the Oxford and these Cambridge exams are conducted, and the toppest youth go abroad.
Yeah, and something should be done about it, right?
Something should.
I'm told that we are left with 3-4 minutes. So what I'm going to do is, although you said that you're a historian, your job is essentially studying the past, not the future. But futuristic conclusion, sir, all of you. One by
Future with the because I could see good future of Pakistan because of the vision of its founders, Qaid-e-Azam, Iqbal, and others, because their philosophy are based on sound footing, and most of our leadership has failed to implement that.
Right.
In terms of education, as Fauzi has pointed out, in terms of health, social welfare, and development.
Right. Ma'am.
I feel that the bulging youth, it is an opportunity, but it is a risk also. So the first thing that we should do is to reform our education system. We need to have critical thinking, innovation, creativity in our education system. Second thing is that we are facing a survival threat with this environmental issue. So we need to be very careful about it, because after 5 years or 10 years, if we are not left with enough resources, what are we going to do?
Right.
So I feel that we need to be very careful at this moment, and we
Right.
should make policies.
Right. Absolutely. Jazeb Khan, your conclusion.
Sir, I'm quite optimistic that Pakistan has a very bright future ahead by the youth of Pakistan, which is the largest number at the moment. And I think that the youth of Pakistan is well aware of its duties, and they can take Pakistan to a certain level where we all dreamed once. And I'm sure that by the change in the curriculum, by the change in the educational setup, as ma'am told earlier, we can achieve a lot more gains for the youth of Pakistan and for our national flag. And
Right.
inshallah, the
That
integrity
will
is there,
happen, inshallah.
and that will inshallah
Right.
definitely happen.
On that optimistic note, I'm told that we have to conclude the program. Jahanzeb Khan, thank you very much for your time. Dr. Fawzia Farooq, thank you very much for your time as well. Dr. Mohammad Riaz Ahmed, sir, thank you very much, sir, for your time as well. Viewers, you have listened to our participants. Discussion of this sort has to continue. But there are two very important things that we have to look at. One is the nature of existential threats. Already Dr. Fawzia has pointed out climate change. Environment is important because there are many things in environment. One of them is India and India's attitude as well. The problem with any threat or any challenge is if it is not addressed in time, it becomes existential threat. So goes for environment. Same happened with terrorism or extremism in the country, and we had to fight it, and at an incredible cost we prevailed. Similarly, when it comes to India, we have to do a lot. The second important aspect that we have to look at is whether we have lost the capacity to dream or not. We haven't. Everybody dreams. You go to any vendor, right, street vendor, and you'll listen to great ideas coming out of his mouth. The only problem is we have lacked an organization or structure when it comes to articulation of those dreams. And the second thing is we have stopped trying hard enough. If we try hard enough, an idea becomes a patent, an idea becomes a book, an idea becomes a movement or momentum. We can do all that because today, thanks to the political changes in the country, we have started to dream again. Let us make it a coherent effort and let us charge into the future as an organized group. This was today's program. Thank you very much for watching us. Pakistan Zindabad.